Hello, this is Mr. Buffington, and in this lesson we are talking about how opposites make zero. More specifically, how the sum of opposites make zero. We are going to have a mini lesson and some practice problems with word problems. Let's get started. Our mini lesson here, we are going over examples of opposites at first, just so we all know what an opposite number will look like. An example here is 13 and negative 13. These are opposites. 4 and negative 4 are also opposites. Negative 32 and positive 32 are opposites. Do you see a pattern here? If not, let's look at some more. 11 and negative 11. 9 and negative 9. 7 and negative 7. 3 and negative 3. If you're seeing the pattern, at this point you should be recognizing that opposites are the same number with different signs, the opposite sign. Some more examples: 5 and negative 5, negative 8 and positive 8, negative 200 and positive 200, 25 and negative 25. And our final example, 44 and negative 44. Just to show you several different examples of what opposites are. Now we're going to bring in our friend, the number line, to help show us how to add opposites. If you have two numbers like 6 and negative 6, they are opposites. What happens when we add those? Well, let's take a look. We'll start out by putting a positive 6 on this number line. We start at 0 and move our way up. Put our point there. Now, if we add to that negative 6, basically we're going to go step by step all the way back here, and we end up back at 0. That's what adding opposites does, and it works every single time. Let me show you some more examples just so you can get kind of really bored of this. If I have 8, I go up to 8, and then I add negative 8. I'll end up back at 0. Let's try another one. 3 plus negative 3. I start at 0, I go up to 3, I add negative 3, it brings me back to 0. Now let's start with the negative this time, just to change things up a bit. If I go negative 5, and then I add 5, I will end up back at 0. It works every single time. When you add opposites, you get 0. Now, there is one slight difference to this, and that's if you don't start at 0, you won't always, if you don't start at 0 and then you add opposites, you'll end up wherever you started. Here's an example of that. If I start with $6, I spend 3 but earn 3, how much do I have left over? So in this case, what it would look like is this. This is my expression, 6 minus 3 plus 3. Because I started with 6, I spent 3, that's subtracting 3, I'm adding 3, which is plus 3. This is what it would look like. Start at 6, I subtract 3, so I go down to there. Then I add 3, which brings me back up to here. It's the same basic idea as what we were talking about, only it's not starting at the point 0. So I would end up with $6 at the end, the same amount I had when I started. Now it's time to do some practice. If you have $10, how much would you need to spend to have $0 left over? And I want you to write it as an expression. Pause the video, try that out. Write an expression that would show this idea. Hey, are you back? If not, seriously, go pause the video and try it. Here's what I would write as an expression. 10 plus negative 10. That's one way to write this expression as adding opposites. What it would look like on a number line is this. I start at 0, add 10, subtract 10, and I'm back to 0. Now with this one, I actually started at 10 and just subtracted 0, but you get the idea. You end up back at 0. You could have also written this expression, just 10 minus 10 equals 0. And that would have also been a good expression. Just 10 minus 10 is the expression. The equation or the full solution there is equals 0. Let's look at another practice problem. The tide makes the sea level drop by 1 meter. For the water to return to its original level, how much will it rise? All right. Pause the video. Try this one out. Write an expression that will show this idea, and then answer the question. My expression, and I'm back, I hope that you tried it out. My expression would look like this. We're never told what the sea level was, so we're just going to start out with -1, which is dropping it down by 1. And then from that point, right, the tide lowers the sea level temporarily, right, and drops it down, -1 or -1, and then we would have to add 1 to bring it back up to the level where it used to be. In an expression, let's say it couldn't have started at 0 because it obviously has to be at some level for it to drop down. But what this means, this 0 means that the change overall is 0. It dropped down 1 meter and then rose up 1 meter, so it's back at its original depth. It did not change overall. The net change, I should say. So the answer to this question is how much will it need to rise would be 1 meter, because those are opposites. Let's look at another example. I have $0 in my bank account and I earned $200 using my parents' car as an Uber. How much money did I spend on candy if I again have $0 in my wallet? Zing. Okay, kind of a silly question, but let's go ahead and write this one out as an expression. Pause the video, try it out on your own. Welcome back. This is the expression that I would have written. I started at 0, I added 200, and then I added -200. So I added the opposites. It ends up with me at 0 again. Poor me with no money. Too bad. And our final example or practice problem is this. If it is 5 degrees outside and the temperature drops by 3 degrees, how much will it need to increase for it to be back up to 5 degrees? Write an expression for that. Pause the video, write an expression for it, and then come on back to see what I did. Hey, welcome back. This is what I did. I dropped it down by 3 degrees. Whoop. And then made it rise back up by 3 degrees. Whoop. I thought that animation was pretty great, by the way. Here, let's see it again. Just there you go. Be impressed. Be impressed. This is all inside of a PowerPoint, so that's pretty great. What the expression would look like is this. 5 minus 3 plus 3 gives you 5 again. So how much will it need to increase to be back up to 5 degrees? It would need to increase by 3 to be back up to 5 degrees. Again, we're adding opposites here. -3 or -3 plus 3 puts us back at our original number. Some things to remember. The sum of opposites is 0. Or in other words, if you add opposites, you get 0. That's really it. So it's not things to remember, it's just thing to remember. I hope that lesson was helpful for you. Make sure to do the practice problems and check your answers using the answer key. And good luck on the quiz. Have a wonderful day.